All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Bungou Stray Dogs, Season 1, Episode 5. All right, we've been dealing with the Port Mafia's goons quite handily.
Indeed.
So, the ADA, hey, yeah, they're going to have your back.
Yep.
They're going to have your back, Atsushi. This is not something where you have to, abandon them, ditch them, rely on your own power and what have you. You have friends around you.
Who even is the Port Mafia? They send their elite, black lizard group. No, it's a joke. It's a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Blue Milk Run, kid.
Right,
yeah.
right.
and the most powerful people of the ADA, I'm guessing, weren't even there.
Yeah, exactly. Which I very much want to have them interacting more. Because if this escalates with the Port Mafia into some kind of all-out war, I get the feeling that it's just going to be when they send, what's his name?
The guy with Rashomon. Akutagawa?
Yeah. Akutagawa, yeah. They just send Akutagawa into this, and he will wreck shit.
Right, as long as Dazai is not there.
Right, but Akutagawa was talking to a captive that was in their dungeons, and there's a bit of a mystery being set up there. So where will that lead? But for now, let's have some more shenanigans at the ADA. And
that's right.
So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Okay.
All right.
Well, we have our Araragi speaking arrogant asshole. Like usually I hate characters like this.
Because I still hate him. I love the design for his power and everything.
Right. But the idea that he is the shtick of I am unlikable. That is my shtick.
Yep.
And specifically it's because I'm cocky. Now, the thing is that it's absolutely something that he can back up because, no, he doesn't have an ability.
But he thinks he does.
But he thinks he does.
Just that good.
Because no one should be that good, right?
Right.
But no, there are people that are, in some ways, too focused on specific types of information. So they see the world sometimes like a bunch of puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
And things just feel like they're out of place at times. So you can see when something's just, this part here doesn't flow, or my ears, my mind's I'm connected to like hearing like when people are lying, and I'm like, you just lied right there.
Right. He's basically Sherlock Holmes, but he doesn't take the entire episode in order to figure something out. He figures it out instantly. Yes. And then the entertainment that we got from this episode, even though it actually took a while to get to the murder, situation in general,
right,
is the fact that is the reveal and how he goes about dealing with the fact that he knows all of this already, that he's so cocky he doesn't need to immediately say who done it and how when it happens, because it's all kind of obvious for him, right? He can do that whenever, right? And we went back and looked at the episode again real quick just to see all the little like subtle details and signs and things like that. They were all there, right?
And I really appreciate that, because some anime or just stories in general will call back to something that wasn't actually shown.
Right. On rewatch and retrospect, it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, which is not the case here.
Not the case here.
Yeah, everything that we could have deduced via like the simpler stuff was there. Right. Now, because in some ways of the blind kind of focus and kind of tunnel vision of the detective, the main one here, he might not have noticed Sugimoto's watch, for instance.
Sure.
But it would have been a thing that would have come up eventually. The idea that the bullets were missing, that's something that he would have had to explain. But I love the way that Dazai was used in this episode because he was a Port Mafia member. And one of the things that's something that's rather cool about this is he didn't reveal to Ranpo that he was a Port Mafia member by doing this.
Nope.
All he's saying is that this is how they do it. Ranpo didn't even need to know that at the time. But the connection of, because he knew that they were in love, that they were dating at the very least.
Right.
The jaw not being broken makes sense now. There's no way he could harm the woman that he loved, even if she was already dead, because that would just break him.
Right.
It was already broken for him to have shot her and killed her.
Right, and hence why he then turns the gun on himself of, please don't do this. If there's any way that I can keep you from doing this thing that will get you killed, I will do it. And
I would rather lose my life than have you lose yours.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it gets out of control and all that stuff happens. And Ranpo is, while I absolutely dislike him as a person, he is incredibly entertaining.
Very much so.
From the standpoint of just how ridiculous he is.
He's a super Sherlock detective Chuuni. He basically is having that, like, 10-year-old's power syndrome of, I see things.
Yeah.
I see Naruhodo. And it's just, it's so meta and funny, and yet it's contrasted by the fact that he as a character is so much of a cocky asshole that, like, we're going to struggle to like him at all as the series goes on unless we see some humanity. But if that's just what he is, he's the comic relief superpowered genius, but not superpowered.
Right.
Then okay.
All right.
All
cool.
right. Yeah.
And if anything, because the ADA, he's so helpful to the ADA, they put up with his shenanigans basically, but the thing that is often done, if Ranpo were the main character of a series, he totally, right, he totally couldn't be. Right. But in the other stories that are very popular, where you have someone like Ranpo, even if it's not as extreme, and they are the main character, the thing that's usually always brought up is that, being all cocky and stuff and having that shit-eating grin, that's great for you, that's great entertainment for the audience.
All's well, but that's well for me.
Right, but that really makes you a god-awful human being.
Yes. And House, Sherlock Holmes. There's some really, really cool
lie to me, like
that
isn't as good, but
not as good.
Not as good. But that's something that like has to be brought up almost. Right now, because of the wacky nature of this show.
He's a side character too,
right? He's a side character, and it's a great ability.
And he's their bankrolling. If we need to consistently make some money,
right?
Ranpo, go solve a few cases,
right?
And he's like, yes.
And he dresses up in the Sherlock get-up and all of that stuff.
That's more the Chuuni stuff.
Right, it's the Chuuni side, and it's great. Yeah. And the fact that then even Dazai, who knows that this isn't a power, is still like,
just to be sure.
Just to be sure, right? It's that thing of the, did I save? He's like, I know that it's not. But okay, no, it's not. It's not. Right. All right. Okay.
I also really love this from a meta standpoint in that his name, Edogawa Ranpo, I don't know who this is as like an author or a novelist or a creator or something like that, but I assume that they wrote mystery novels of some kind.
Probably.
Probably not that they were a super genius. Like they might have been smart for sure, but I just love the idea of we had an episode that in and of itself does not fit in this show from the standpoint of the overarching like conflict, because it's basically just a mini detective serial episode with the classic structure of introducing the super detective. I am so necessary and needed.
Right.
And then we have the explanation part in the second half after we've had the whole shenanigans of him being like, I've already figured it all out. Dazai is used to, like I said it before, but he's used to exceptional effect here because he shows that half of what he did is something that just a smart person could have done, which means that we buy it for the most part because someone else could have gotten some of that.
Right.
But the fact that he so willingly like dives into this character every time, showing that he loves it to the point of him being unable to investigate his way out of a a residential neighborhood.
Oh, how do I get this marble out of a bottle? Well, you could turn the bottle upside down or just break it.
Well, it was too big to go through that.
Well, but then how did it get in the bottle in the first place?
It's a good question.
Like that's Now maybe it's one of those things where it's made in such a way so that it was always in there. So I don't know.
But the point is, is that there are going to be times where he does not have the ability to do something.
Right.
Now, is that because he's arrogant and does not want to do it?
Sure.
Because it's a waste of his intellect. Or is this actually the saving grace of his character where he actually really does not know how to do these things and he's so focused on like specific things for this that he's kind of a child still.
Oh,
Like, he's
absolutely.
kind of like,
Yep.
he kind of is that, like, I'm a kid in an adult's body playing at being
Right.
the super
He never
detective.
grew up.
But he never had to grow up that way.
Right,
What
'cause-
kind of a person...
Because he never really struggled, right?
Right.
The fact...
Right.
Keep going.
Or just saying that, or if he's still kind of stunted in that growth area, people might not have ever really rejected him. And thus he had to, just lose all of his friendships the slow way, which is they
Sure.
just slowly disappear and walk away. And you're like, why'd everyone leave?
Yeah.
I can't find my way out of here. Someone help.
Right.
Someone.
He has never been wrong, apparently. I don't buy that.
Well, I don't think that's the point.
No,
that he's never been wrong in his life.
Hold on.
Okay.
They said he's never been wrong.
Now
Now,
the cases, though, right?
yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just...
But they said he's never been wrong, right? That's a big deal, right? Because if he doesn't actually have an ability, like he doesn't actually have a superpower, but he believes that he does, and he's never been wrong, that's very interesting because it either says that he is so unbelievably smart that this kind of stuff is so utterly not a challenge for him that while theoretically he could be wrong at some point,
Okay.
he just hasn't been, right? And
Yeah.
or that maybe, because this is something I was kind of curious about, he spent a while at that crime scene before he actually started talking about what happened, right? Now,
sure.
when he did the little bzz, bzz, when the Sugimoto made the slip up, right?
Right.
Clearly, he had pieced it all together about, pretty much instantly when he looked at the thing. But he still had the whole thing of, I need to put my glasses on and things like that, right? Where it almost feels like it is a self-delusion, but it feels that he actually has a power, right? But it doesn't have to be a self-delusion. He could just be mistakenly thinking that he has a power. Or the Chuuni side of things where it's the putting on the glasses and things like that, so that he can keep living in this world where he is special ability-wise, because he is definitely special just as far as his regular human capabilities.
Yeah.
But the fact that he has never been wrong, that makes me think like there might be some deep insecurity possibly of, if I don't have this, I'm nothing. Because cockiness usually goes hand in hand with making mistakes. Not often, but sometimes. Because you always know that you're right. And what would be any potential situations, and because it can be for things other than cases, right? Because cases is where he has everything figured out, right? And he knows pretty much nothing about just being a functioning human being outside of that.
Sure.
I am very curious to see the situations where he maybe gets a little scared when he realizes his own limitations.
Yeah. I'm looking in the episode for where they say that he's never made a mistake, and I can't find it. Where do you remember him saying that?
Oh, it was early on. Like, he's never wrong, basically. He's solved plenty of cases like this, and he's never wrong.
Yeah, I found that he solved dozens of cases, but I don't think they said that he's never wrong.
I can't remember exactly where it was said, but I know for a fact that it was said.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, it definitely seems like the kind of thing where when they were under the point of kind of egging him on in the, you have an ability for sure.
Right.
Is that he doesn't get anything wrong, as far as we know. So they would say that. But then if they know that it's not an ability,
right,
is there actually a point where he is wrong? But it's that they wouldn't actually tell him. They'd just be like, yep.
Sure.
As expected.
Oh yeah, great point. Because originally I was thinking maybe the reason why he took so long to put on the glasses is to give himself an out, because he thinks he has it figured out, but he's still waiting for more evidence to come in that confirms things before he actually puts himself out there and says what's going on.
Right. So then he doesn't process the info live in front of them.
Exactly, because then there could potentially be a possibility that he would be wrong.
Yeah, I do think that it is a thing where he thinks he has the ability.
I think so too. Yeah. And if that's the case, then is there some kind of how subconscious would something like that be? right? Of the waiting for more potential information,
right? Like an example of this, when I was growing up, I remember when I realized that people lie in ways that aren't intentional. And this was a very interesting thing, because I remember being in a situation where people were telling me that if people aren't doing it intentionally, that it's not a lie. And I was like, but that kind of hurts my brain. So I ended up simplifying things, and was that, well, I looked it up, and people actually do stretch, reality, or bend the truth a little bit, like constantly, every day.
Sure.
And it's a thing of where they're going to say something with emotion or added emphasis on something to make a point, but factually what they said is slightly wrong. Now, they are aware of that, but it's not the point of them willfully trying to deceive someone. And I remember being very frustrated as a kid, being like, I can tell that they're lying. Lying meaning they're stretching the truth. They're saying something that is not factual to make a point. And I remember my mom really being like helpful in this, and being like, hey, Caleb, like, this is something that you're going to have to, learn to accept, is that there's a lot of people are going to say something that they don't necessarily mean, but not everyone is some horrible person trying to be out to deceive or manipulate people. Everyone's scared. Everyone's trying to figure out their whole thing in life. And me as like a 11-year-old, just really frustrated that it felt like I had friends that would lie, was something that it so bugged me at the time then, of just like, but like, what are the points where I'm not able to see that they're lying? And I really think that if you had this kind of intuition and kind of high level intellect, you would not be able necessarily to have friends, because the problem is that you can then see all of their flaws on full display.
He probably already knows that Dazai was Port Mafia. like, let's be real.
That's a very good
point. And he
just
keeps it to himself, because he keeps all kinds of things to himself, right?
Oh yeah,
with
everyone
the case,
does that. Yeah,
he has no obligation to say immediately how it's what happened. Also, last thing from this episode that I wanted to point out: the fact that the detective was unable to see things like the watches and things like that, right? Like potentially obvious signs. I feel like that might be also a nice little parallel to the fact that he wasn't paying attention to his subordinate, because otherwise he might have realized that something was up. And also the whole idea that he was like, oh yeah, this person who died, who was also one of my subordinates, the victim's one of my subordinates. Oh no, she wasn't dating anybody, right? That bit of detachment and not being in tune with what was really going on with regards to, oh yeah, any one of my officers is better than any private investigator, right?
It's that pride, if you will.
Right.
Was the same thing
that blinds him to the evidence in front of him.
Right.
Literally. So
yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, that this was an episode where we had basically pride on full display from multiple angles.
Right.
And thus,
not just from the obvious one.
Right. And thus the one with no shame.
Right.
Absolutely no shame at all was the one that was kind of able to casually see everything with Dazai.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I was going to say, which one has no shame? Because both
Dazai,
and Dazai,
the one that willingly jumps into the water to kill himself.
God, the fact that they did that, I was like,
you were joking. I was joking, and I was like, watch, I could totally see that.
But once they were like,
right.
oh no, the net, I'm like, oh god, oh god,
it's like, a man. We're like,
I thought there might be something where it's like he would end up being actually connected to the death that happened, even if he didn't do it. And it's like, oh yeah, that was, let me tell you a story, fellas, or I don't know, but oh boy,
that would have been funny. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if ain't that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.